by politics. And chances are it's going to be William Ruto versus Raila Odinga.
Yes.
That's the chances.
Yeah.
You're
Actually,
take-
there are only two candidates.
There's only two horses in this race,
Yes.
right? And
William Ruto is going to win.
good to see you, Karibu Sana.
Asante sana.
How are you?
Good.
I'm used
I'm
to
glad
seeing
to be
you
here.
on the bench now. It's in the radio studio.
Exactly.
So listen, oh my goodness, and you have been a staunch opponent of BBI, and when you see in the House, it just sails by smoothly. You see in the Senate, BBI is being passed, overwhelmingly. Yesterday was 51-11 in the Senate. So now it's heading to the president. He signs it off, and then IEBC referendum is coming. Yes, whether we like it or not.
Yes. But the question you should be asking Kenyans is, what is in it in that BBI amendment bill that will help Kenyans? There's nothing in it for us. Just tell me one thing that you'll benefit from. Because what has happened is, even the voting, people were voting, they were playing to the gallery. Because there were some places that said, my constituency is getting an extra constituency. So they had to vote yes in case the people on the ground are going to be upset.
What do you mean?
And all politics are local.
What is wrong with extra constituency? Oh yes, it's very expensive. It's going to cost us a lot. But 70 new constituencies? What's wrong with that?
No, Kenyans have been sold a lie. Kenyans have been told that if you get extra constituencies, it means you're getting extra money coming to the constituency. But that's not true. Remember, the way the CDF development fund is distributed, it's 2.5% of the revenue collected. So 2.5% divided by 600 instead of 290 doesn't mean you're going to get more.
What do you mean 600? 290 plus 70 is what? 360 constituencies?
No, then we're going to get more nominations. It's going to come to almost 600 members of parliament. So Kenyans have to decide, do they want to have 600 members of parliament? Do they want to have a bigger executive, expanded executive? They're going to pay for it, and that's what's going to happen. But Kenyans are not being told about that cost. Kenyans are being told, you're getting an extra constituency. You're going to get 35% money coming into the counties. But remember, 35% of zero is zero. So what we should be thinking about as Kenyans is expanding our revenue and money base so that even if you get 10%, it's 10% of a substantial amount. But even if you tell me 35%, what is 35% of 100,000?
1/3, yeah.
Yeah, and then what is 35% of 1 million? So we should be expanding the amount so that even the percentage does not matter.
But look, you were talking about expanding the executive. I mean, every 5 years, this country goes into conflict. It's like, things stop for a year, we lose a year because we're in conflict during elections. So what is wrong with expanding the executive?
Okay, you're expanding the executive by what? Having two deputy prime ministers and two deputy prime ministers, one prime minister, one deputy president, and one president. That's 5 people.
Correct.
Are you telling me that Kenya is made of 5 communities? We have 42 communities in Kenya. So are you saying satisfying 5 communities is going to end conflict?
But it's better.
The conflict that has existed in Kenya is because there's one man who refuses to lose an election or to accept a loss, and that is Raila Odinga. Nobody else has been arguing. Who else has been fighting? It's only Raila Odinga. So are you telling me that having 5 posts is going to make Kenyans happy?
But look, it's better than two tribes, if you will, 2 ethnic groups who every 5 years have to go into conflict. I mean, it just takes this country back. So doesn't it at least, give us some breathing room, if you will?
Are you telling me that, no, but the question is, are those 2 tribes really taking care of the whole of Kenya? I think it's unfair to think that 2 tribes can control this country. What we should be looking at is balancing diversity, and our current constitution provides for diversity. And diversity doesn't mean in only the top positions. It means in cabinet. It means who's head of the army, who's the attorney general, who's in the Supreme Court. We can balance it out in all the positions in government so that people feel included. But just giving 5 people positions will not necessarily cure the challenge that we have.
Look, regardless of what you're saying, this thing has been sailing through. It's been sailing through at every stage. So what is it? I mean, obviously there's some benefits to this Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020. There must be some benefits.
Okay, you must remember, how did it sail through to at the county assembly positions? County assembly, they were given 2 million shillings.
No, that's that's
No,
not
they
it.
did get 2 million shillings car grant. That is what was offered to them, and that's why they voted for it.
And that's why 43 counties out of 47 voted for it.
Yes, because they were literally, they were opposed to it, and then suddenly MCAs money was thrown at them, and then they did vote for it. So that was not, it was intimidation, and I remember a lot of MCAs are also nominated, so they were afraid of losing their nominated seats, so they did vote for it.
And then in Parliament, overwhelmingly.
In Parliament, I mean, we spoke to a lot of my colleagues, and many of them said, my county is getting extra constituencies, and if I vote against it, people on the ground are going to be upset with me. So people are also trying to take care of their ground.
But wasn't it, for lack of a better word, I mean, it's just shameful or ironic. I mean, someone like Kimani Gunjiri, who was a staunch opponent of BBI, he stands up and says, yes, I will vote yes. What do you feel betrayed, or does the Tanga side feel betrayed?
No, because as a Tanga squad, we didn't have a position. Remember, the deputy president was always very clear that BBI is not our project. It's somebody else's projects. He said he wanted a win-win situation. We raised a few issues that we had against it, and actually amendments were made to the bill to take care of what we had said. But we have never said we are running a no campaign. So we didn't actually put our foot down on it.
It's like you're washing your hands. You're being like Pontius Pilate. You're washing your hands away from this thing because it's overwhelmingly passed.
No, but don't you remember when we met as 200 MPs in Karen, and we made our statement about BBI, and we said we want a win-win situation. We don't want to go into a contest on this issue. We raised the issues that we wanted included in BBI and which were in fact included into it, but we have never said we are running a no campaign.
If it comes to a referendum, are you going to vote yes or no? Have you decided? Because
No.
you said no in Parliament, right?
No, I'm voting no.
You are.
Yes,
No
I'm
matter-
voting no, no matter what. But but the thing is, even if it passes, what is it that is going to happen in that? In fact, the only thing that is in that BBI bill is that Kenyans are going to pay more for the executive and they're going to pay more for parliamentarians. That's it. There's nothing else that benefits us at all. There are some things that are in BBI, and if you listen to my statement in Parliament, one of the things I said is that, for example, I think clause number 2 says that regional integration is going to become one of our new economic goals in Kenya. And then I said to myself, how is it that Kenya is putting regional integration as part of our constitution, yet our neighbors have not done that? That is something that you do through treaties and bilateral agreements. You don't put it in your constitution. It is like saying, actually, I'm going to put it in the constitution that you must be my friend because you're my neighbor. So does that make sense to you?
Well, as long as you're not fighting, that's the whole point. We're trying to avoid conflict.
No, but then why don't we ask our neighbor to put it also in their constitution? Because I'm putting it in my constitution, but you haven't put it in your constitution. So there's so many nonsensical things that are inside that amendment bill that should not be in a constitution.
ODM. Looks like some folks in there were going to oppose, or they had, voiced their opinions against BBI, and they were immediately censured. What do you think of that?
Yes, Amolo Otiende
Yes.
was vice chairperson
Of JLAC.
Yes, and he was kicked out.
I mean, goodness. Did that come as a surprise, or because ODM says, look, we were planning these changes anyway?
No, but just remember what has been happening so far is that they've been looking for us under the table. I mean, every time, right now what we've been told in Kenya through Jubilee and ODM, that if you go against what the party leader wants, there'll be some consequences. So you're kicked out of committees, you're removed from house leadership, and so on. So that's been the trend. Now it's happening to ODM.
And then yesterday, a special Kenya Gazette noticed a Senate seat suddenly became vacant, which used to belong to Isaac Mwaura.
Yes.
I mean, literally, a Gazette noticed, the speaker announced it, and then Mwaura rushed to the High Court, and it's been stayed until, I think, the 24th, an urgent hearing then. But what's going on?
Yes, but that is what has happened. Now, we've become such an intolerant country that we do not want to hear any dissenting voices. So if you have a dissenting voice, you will definitely either remove from your position that you are in. And Isaac Mwaura was not holding that position as Isaac Mwaura. He is representing persons with disabilities. So what happens to that constituency of people that he represents?
Yeah, but when he literally, according to some experts or critics, he bites the hand that feeds him. He turned on his own Jubilee, or one side of his Jubilee, and he openly decided to support Tanga Tanga.
But Tanga Tanga is part of Jubilee.
Well,
I'm a Jubilee MP.
Yes, you are, but Jubilee, obviously, there's
We've split into two.
Split. There's a fallout. There's a rift.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is it? What is it about? What went wrong? In fact, let me ask you this. You were there. I think it was March 2013 at the inauguration. You remember that?
Yes.
You're the one who, welcomed them. You were coordinating the whole thing as head of the judiciary. And you saw the chemistry then. You saw a new dawn then, which every paper declared. And every headline.
I remember telling everybody, my Rika is now in the presidency.
Look at that.
Yeah.
8
I was
years
excited about it. And I thought, these guys are going to take the country places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was an incredible time and a buoyant mood.
And by the way, it's Uhuru Kenyatta who introduced me to William Ruto, by the way.
Is that right?
Yes.
You didn't know William Ruto before?
Yeah.
What happened? What went wrong?
I have no idea.
Somebody knows.
No, I think we should be asking Murathe and the team, because they're the ones who seem to be controlling the president at the moment.
It's such a shame because 8 years later.
I mean, but they had great ideas for the country. I mean, if you look at the work that went into between 2013 up to 2018, great things happened. We had the highest electricity connections since independence. We had the highest number of road network that was built since independence. I mean, we got free secondary education for the kids, and so there was a lot of progress that happened. But it's just, and then suddenly...
Someone has to know, Mahesh.
It was I think after March 2018, after the handshake, things went wrong.
Yeah, what you, Tanga Tanga folks, cannot understand is that, someone walked into your bedroom and disrupted everything.
Yes.
That's what you can.
Yeah, that's what happened.
That's what happened. And what was wrong with a handshake that would bring down temperatures in this country? What was wrong with that? Why couldn't you just, accommodate this new venture?
I may have come into this show and even said that there was nothing wrong with actually having the handshake. It brought calm, because remember at that time there was what were they called, tear gas Mondays. There was all the chaos happening. There was demonstrations. I mean, we were scaring away investors from the country. So in a way, calming Raila Odinga by the handshake was a good thing. But when now it became a process where there has to be a constitutional change being initiated, this amendment bill, actually, like I said in Parliament, it is not a popular initiative. It is a two-man initiative disguised as a popular initiative. So it went into constitutional change. We didn't expect that to happen. So it was okay to handshake. But now going to the point where you're amending the constitution, in fact, the whole idea was for Raila Odinga to be able to have a platform for campaigning. Unfortunately for him, COVID happened and reggae stopped.
But reggae stopped momentarily. But it looks like reggae is back on. In terms of the referendum, reggae is back on. And the referendum, obviously, has to happen a year before the elections. So it looks like it'll happen in July, sometime in July, as according to experts.
No, I don't know which experts are saying that's going to happen in July. Because you remember, if there's going to be a constitutional amendment, there's going to be a referendum. We have not had any mass voter registration since 2015. So there's going to be a lot of young people who won't be able to vote during that particular referendum. So I'm going to ask, are the young people of Kenya going to agree to be disenfranchised and not to participate in the referendum because there hasn't been any mass voter registration? Voter registration, the minimum time it can take is at least 60 days. That hasn't happened. And then after you have the 60 days of mass voter registration, you have to have the cleaning up of the register. That also is going to take, the minimum it can take is 30 days. I've worked at the Electoral Commission. When we verify the register, if there's 16 million registered voters, it means they take your name and run it against 16 million names to confirm that you're not a double registered person. After that, there has to be voter inspection of the register, which means it has to go back on the ground and allow me and you to go and check if my name is correct on the register. So just if you calculate what is required and good practice for mass voter registration, that's already taking us into more than 90 days.
It's in August. If you're saying, 60 days and 30, that's 90
yes.
days.
And then we've also got to have voter education. People have to be educated on what is in that particular amendment bill.
So you don't see it happening?
Unless they just want to break the law, which they have been doing. So Kenya has become a banana republic. We don't follow the law. We can break all the laws, break all good practice and governance structures, and push it down our throats.
Yeah, but look, devolution has worked. For the most part, the last...
No, devolution has worked.
Yes.
And I don't think we should be worrying about increasing 15% to 35%. I think what we should be worrying about is growing our economy. Because when we grow our economy, even if we say 10%, then it will be 10% of a substantial amount. If we say that we're going to have more CDF, CDF is 2.5% of revenue collected. But let's grow the economy so that 2.5% is as good as 50%.
Look, it looks like the Tanga side Deputy President William Ruto is changing tact.
He hasn't changed tact. He was very clear from the beginning. I think if you look at his tweets, if you look at all his statements, he constantly said, I want a win-win situation. He says we don't want to go into a contest. That was his position. The rest of us, people like me, I wanted to go into a contest. But he was clear and said, let's not go into a contest. He said, this is not be a contest. We can just make sure if we want to amend the constitution, let's amend it and let's listen to all the views. Let's put it there like was done in the 2010 constitution. The 2010 constitution, it was the most consultative constitution-making process in the entire world.
Lately, he has been wooing economists like David Ndii, who was a staunch opponent of the deputy president. And now they're working together.
No, it's because of ideology. The ideology is the most important thing. Remember, David Ndii used to work with Raila Odinga very closely.
Yes, very
Because
closely.
at that time, they agreed on basis of ideology.
But he was very opposed to deputy president, calling him all kinds of names on social media. And now...
So has Gladys Wanga, and so has been the ODM people. Remember the names that they called, people like Millie Odhiambo called the president Mushenzi. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what Gladys Wanga called Uhuru Kenyatta. But today they're working together. So politics is, they're no permanent enemies and they're no permanent friends.
And what is this?
But at that time, it's what you agree on the position that you're taking at that time. And also the position that the people you represent have an affinity to.
But look, of all people, who was more critical of deputy president than David Ndii?
Who was more critical of Uhuru Kenyatta than Raila Odinga?
So, politics makes strange bedfellows there.
Exactly, yeah.
But the bottom of...
So people shouldn't find it strange. It's normal. That's what happens in politics.
So nothing about this is strange?
Nothing about this is strange. I think it's what you agree on is the position, not the personality. It's not about not liking the personality. It's what they stand for at that time. Currently, William Ruto stands for a new economic model that he wants to propagate in Kenya. He wants to look at a bottom-up approach, which many people resonate with. David D is an accomplished economist and analyst, and he believes in that economic model, so he's free to support it.
Okay, are you still advocating for a hustler narrative, or did the hustler narrative not work in the end?
But the hustler narrative is what you still stand for. What's the economic model, which is a bottom-up approach? That's a hustler narrative.
And is it working? I mean, for you guys, or?
Yes, I mean, if you look at what has happened in this country, is we were constantly focusing on the big companies. Yes, we were focusing on people, 2 million people who are in the formal sector, but we're talking about 16 million Kenyans who are in the informal sector.
That we love our politics. And the chances are it's going to be William Ruto versus Raila Odinga.
Yes.
That's the chances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, there are only two candidates.
There's only two horses in this race.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And?
William Ruto is going to win.
Yeah, obviously you would say that, right? What else would we expect?
No, I mean, Raila has been at it for how many years now?
Yeah, what's that got to do with anything?
I think things have changed. The dynamics have changed in our politics. 60% of our voting bloc in Kenya will be young people. So they are really the ones who are going to decide. And they are going to decide according to who resonates with their aspirations. There's a lot of young people who are unemployed. There's a lot of young people who are frustrated. Many young people who are graduates and can't get jobs. I mean, so whoever is messaging and explaining what solutions they have for those young people is the person who's going to get elected. Raila Odinga hasn't told us what he's going to do differently. I mean, the Raila Odinga we see today is not the Raila Odinga that we knew in the past. Remember why we loved Raila Odinga in the past? Because he was the one who spoke out on corruption, who spoke out for the underdogs, who spoke out on issues that resonated with Kenyans. But today, he's just happy having a limousine and lots of bodyguards around him.
And William Ruto has taken over that role.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
See how roles change in a few years. See what a difference a few years makes.
But also you must remember William Ruto has had his political career over 30 years, and he has consistently grown slowly over time. Yeah, he hasn't run for president 5 times like Raila Odinga did. In fact, Raila Odinga only won one election, 2007. It was stolen from him. And who was behind him? William Ruto. So Raila Odinga has never won an election. He only won one when he had William Ruto behind him.
By the way, couldn't they ever reconcile? Could they, like you say, there's no such thing as enemies in politics. Mm-hmm. Could they ever reconcile the two of them?
I can't. I don't think that is something I can put it past any politician, because politics is just about building alliances and reaching out to the wananchi. So I don't think I can say that can never happen, because it has happened in the past. 2007, William Ruto supported Raila.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look, bottom line, what about you? Your future aspirations, Western Gishu in your sights? Mm-hmm. Do you have the top seat there in your sights?
Okay, I don't think I want to say too loudly, but if BBI passes through the referendum, then it means the women representative seat is no longer available, which means I will go for a different seat. And I won't tell you which one now.
You don't have to. I can already envision that. Speaking of which, women, you talk of women, President Samia Suluhu Hassan the other day, impressive
Yes.
in Kenya.
Yes.
Were you inspired?
I was inspired. And I remember the first time I listened to her is when she talked about her economic model, where she was telling her ministers that please, like I think she was talking about taxes in Tanzania, and he was saying if a business is not able to pay taxes, don't go and shut it down, because it means you can't collect taxes from them in future. But if you can negotiate with them, allow them to remain in business, then at least you'll be able to collect taxes at some point in time. And she said you cannot kill the cow that you get milk from. And I like that, because she was being sensitive and has a higher understanding of how to support local businesses within Tanzania. And I was impressed with that. And she's very practical. I mean, her approach is practical, which is what we want presidents to do.
Yeah. Do you think we'll ever get there? Did we learn anything from her?
Yeah. I think we'll get there. There's a lot of people who are practical. I think Uhuru Kenyatta was a very practical president. He had a clear vision of what he wanted to do for this country. Until March 2018, I don't know what that handshake did to him.
Like your people say, what?
Uchawi ni kweli. Ni real. Uchawi ni real.